joining us today. I'm Deborah Hughes, Assistant Director of Publicity and Publications at DAS, and I'll be your host along with Anna Berta, who is the head of DAS International. Thank you for attending part 2 of Liz's social communication skills presentation. Now, if you are just catching up on this webinar and you've missed part 1, don't worry. Part 1 is on our DAS International Facebook as we live streamed the webinar, which we are also doing today. So if you don't get a chance to finish today's webinar, don't worry, you can come back and rewatch it on our Facebook page. So if you have any questions for us, please click on the question and answer icon at the bottom of the Zoom window, or you can just put it into chat, and then we'll collect your questions and hope Liz may have some answers for you at the end of the presentation. If we don't have answers and we can't answer all the questions, don't worry, we'll collect the questions and we'll post them on the DAS International website. So let's get started today. Our presenter is Liz, and she's a speech and language therapist and has been so since 2014 at DAS. She works with students who have dyslexia and speech, language and communication needs, as well as other co-occurring challenges such as global developmental delay, attention deficit and autism. She conducts individual and group therapy for students, including social skills therapy and social skills workshops. She also contributes to the training of new DAS educational therapists, as well as other adult learners as an adjunct lecturer for DAS Academy on speech, language and communication needs. Additionally, she, being a speech and language therapist with a strong foundation in early childhood profession, she conducts seminars and workshops for preschool educators. Early intervention and remediation with children and youth who have learning challenges is Liz's lifelong passion and mission. And also joining us today is Anna. Anna Berta Jane is the head of DAS International. Anna has a wealth of experience in providing support for students with learning differences, and as head of DAS International, she aims to provide a professional service to the SPLD community, both in Singapore and the region. Hello, Anna, it's over to you.
Hi. Thank you, Deb, for the nice welcome for Elizabeth and myself. And hello, everyone. A quick lunch, 45-minute. We thought we would slip this in ever so often. Last year, we did about 8 spotlight webinars, which we found were really well received because I think they were short, to the point, and it was based on requests from parents and educators such as yourselves. And so today, as Deb mentioned, we have our speech and language therapist, Elizabeth, who brings really a wealth of experience, as you will see and appreciate when she presents her topic today. So a quick background again for those who have not attended our Spotlight series, because as Deb mentioned, I work a lot with schools, with families, and I thought it's nice to have a platform that we could come together ever so often and engage directly, externally, with all our external friends in the community. And just to let everyone know that we support students not just with dyslexia, but with learning differences such as ADHD, dyscalculia, and speech and language communication challenges. So what a better way, I thought, for this start for our first series for the year, to invite Elizabeth, who will share on social communication skills, part 2. So without further ado, really, Elizabeth, please.
Over to you.
Okay, so welcome to my webinar on Coach Your Child in Social Communication Skills. So I'm Liz, I'm a speech language therapist in DAS. Okay, so social communication skills include nonverbal skills such as eye contact and body language and facial expression, of course. Okay, verbal skills, which is specifically talking for social purposes, such as requesting, okay, or having a conversation. Social interaction and communication skills, which include sharing, cooperating, conversing, as I mentioned, reasoning, negotiating, and problem solving when there's a communication breakdown. Another group of social communication skills, which is very important, are social thinking skills, which include self-awareness, which is being aware of what one thinks and feels, one's preferences and opinions. Social observation, which is being aware of what other people around us are doing, saying, and how they might feel, okay, the experiences they engage in, just being attentive to people around us. And perspective taking, which is being able to put ourselves in another's shoes or imagine what another person might think and feel. Now, children can have social communication difficulties, which may be caused by language difficulties, such as not really understanding what someone else is saying, or not being able to say what they would like to say, not knowing how to express it, not knowing what words to use. Can also be caused by poor self-awareness, not being aware of their own thoughts, preferences, and feelings. Can be caused by lack of social awareness, which is basically just kind of like being more in their own world and being aware of people around them and what people do, what people feel, what people need. Now, this lack of social awareness, lack of attention and observation of what other people around them are doing and saying, actually contributes to poor perspective taking. Okay, so this means that the child would not really be able to put himself or herself in another person's shoes and only see their own point of view. Another important factor that can cause social comm difficulties is executive functioning weaknesses, such as poor impulse control. So a child may blurt out whatever he or she is thinking without pausing to think, should I really say this or not? Would it hurt the person's feelings? Does it sound weird or inappropriate, right? Or they're very excited when they see a friend holding a new toy, and because they're so excited and want to look at it, they just snatch it out of the friend's hands without pausing to ask, can I have a look? So that's poor impulse control. So you can see how this will lead to social communication difficulties, right? Poor self-regulation means having difficulty regulating their feelings, especially. So if they're extremely happy, they might be so loud, so boisterous, so all over the place, running around everywhere, that it can be a bit annoying, right? Or it could show up as when they're very upset about something, they're unable to control, reel it in, so they have total meltdowns. And that makes other people around them very uncomfortable. It's sometimes even a little bit frightening. Now, but before you begin trying to coach your child, you've got to learn to be yourself, right? A social detective. This means you've got to have really keen observation skills and you've got to reflect on what you observe. So what do you really need to observe about your child? You've got to observe and understand, right, your child's needs, both their developmental needs according to their age or their stage in life, and their unique individual needs. Because even if have a group of children of the same age and they're having the same social experiences in school, they would have very unique individual social needs as well, okay? And emotional needs. So you've got to observe and understand your child. To do that, you've got to look and listen, right? Carefully pay attention to your child's feelings and behaviors in different social situations. And after you've observed, you really need to reflect upon your child's behaviors and identify any underlying causes and triggers of your child's struggles in social interaction situations. So if your child has had difficulty negotiating something with a group of friends, you've got to reflect and consider what really went on. Pay attention to all the details, pay attention to what your child said, pay attention to how your child said it, pay attention to what the other children said, pay attention to how they responded to one another. Okay? There could be triggers in the behaviors from other peers that upset your child as well. Okay? Because social interaction is dynamic, it's complex. So it's always two ways, right? It's always two ways. It's never just something happening being triggered by one child. Now, after you've done that, all these, right, you should write down a list of the social skills you think your child really needs to develop. And you've got to prioritize what to work on first. One good guideline would be to work on what is required most often on a daily basis, and also to work on what you think your child would most quickly be able to pick up with your coaching. Because quick success will build your child's self-esteem and make him or her motivated to learn more social skills, okay, instead of shying away from social situations after discouragement and failure, or a sense of failure rather. Now, you also need to research. You need to read up on ways to nurture social skills and look for appropriate programs as well. So then, when you want to coach your child in social communication skills, these are the key tenets of how to be a coach. And you've got to model the behaviors you would like your child to learn. You've got to show how to behave, show what to say. You've got to explain. You've got to teach these skills explicitly. You have to explain to your child why do this, why say this, and when, and to whom. Then you've got to practice with your child. First, in safe environments with familiar adults and other communication partners like siblings, cousins, right? So other caregivers like teachers, grandparents, practice in familiar, safe environment first. Practice. Then after that, it's time to apply. You've got to do this by creating real-life opportunities for real-time practice. So for example, if your child has difficulty making requests, let's say when he or she orders food, they tend not to be able to get the message across clearly for the chef to do variations or modifications to the dish that they like, let's say, right? Then they've got to practice repeating or clarifying by giving more details, okay? So this would be a spontaneous, real-life opportunity for communication repair, okay? So you would have had to practice this at home first with your child many times, and then actually bring your child for real-time practice, okay? And be there to support your child. That's what it means to be a coach. Of course, as with every skill, okay, there needs to be frequent, constant repetition in the long term for a child to internalize and transfer these skills and be able to use them more spontaneously. So to summarize, okay, key tenets of coaching your child in social skills: model, teach, practice, and repeat. Okay, so moving on, I want to share with you about one of my students, A. Okay, he's 11 in mainstream school with some inappropriate behaviors and manners. Talks nearly incessantly and dominates the lesson, expresses strong opinions which may be negative, challenges and corrects friends and the teacher, that's me, in class as well. He misinterprets what other people say and do, gets easily offended. He admits to having had anger management issues, and he may sometimes still act out. He says inappropriate and sometimes hurtful things to classmates. So he does know about rules and knows how to follow rules, but I realized that he needed to learn about social norms and expectations, which may not be official rules, but are behaviors that people generally expect of one another in order to get along with others. Right? So one of the things he needed to learn was that everyone has thoughts and feelings, and that what we say can affect what others think and how they feel. That being social means we try to make other people feel comfortable to be around us. Okay? That our thoughts can be positive or negative, helpful or hurtful. And therefore, before we say something to someone, we should ask ourselves, should I think it or say it? Now, one of the things that he said that prompted me to start teaching him this concept of think it or say it was, he looked at a friend who had very well-used, okay, looking possessions like stationaries, bags, etc. And he actually asked his friend, "Your things look really old. Are you poor or something?" "Yeah, I wonder if any of you gasped. I did almost, okay? But I kept it in, right? So then I kind of expressed, that's not a very nice thing to say. That's not something you should say to a friend. But his friend did not respond, and he actually repeated the question 2 to 3 times until I finally had to say, stop, can I please speak to you privately? And I brought him out, and that's when I first started teaching him the concept of think it or say it. Okay, is it something that is okay or not okay to say? How does it make your friend feel if you comment that his things look old and you wonder if he's poor? I said, what if he is really not so well to do? How would he feel, right? Or even if he's not, how would he feel about you commenting on his personal property like this, his appearance? Okay. Now, so to teach think it or say it, you can also give examples like this to contrast for your child or your student, right? If it's anything that will make others feel uncomfortable, such as insults or sarcastic remarks, unhelpful thoughts or comments about one's physical appearance, or when someone makes a mistake, personal questions which violate a person's privacy, such as, how much do your parents earn, right? Angry negative words, this may seem obvious, but not always to our students. Okay? And even off-topic or irrelevant comments, which are not related to the lesson or not related to the conversation that the group of friends is having. Now, these are things that would make others feel uncomfortable, and so therefore we should only think it and not say it. On the other hand, conversely, if you have thoughts that would make others feel comfortable, such as compliments, helpful, positive, respectful comments, or you have questions which show sincere concern but are not too personal, you have encouraging positive words, you have on-topic relevant comments, comments relevant to the lesson or comments relevant to the topic of conversation with your friends at that moment, then say it. Okay? So you could use videos and other self-made resources, okay, to teach your child or student about this think it or say it comment. So this girl, okay, circled in red, she received a present from a friend for her birthday. This friend could not attend her birthday party. But when she received the present, she realized she didn't like it. So she made a face. And she actually said she didn't like it. This is the friend who gave the present and who was really quite upset, as you can see, and sad at her friend's response. Later on, this girl reflected on her behavior and she asked herself, should she have said it or just thought her thoughts that she didn't like her present? Upon reflection, she realized she should only have thought it, and she could still have been truthful by saying she appreciated the gift. She did not have to say she liked it because she didn't. Okay, so this is an example of how you can teach your student or your child whether to think it or say it. Give different scenarios, talk through it, talk about how the other person might feel, and then have your child decide whether they should think it or say it. Okay, so I want to share with you about another student of mine. Okay, he's 14 years old in mainstream school with inappropriate behaviors and anger management issues. He follows rules, okay, official rules, but is not non-compliant whenever he's asked to do anything he dislikes, okay, such as specific lessons which he doesn't enjoy or finds difficult, okay, such as school events like learning journeys that he doesn't like to go for. Now, when he has to do any of these things that he doesn't like, if he encounters any additional frustrations while doing them, he has major meltdowns at times. Okay? Full on throwing things, kicking furniture, things like that. Shouting at teachers also. Okay? He generally has very poor attitudes towards school and is flippant when he's confronted or corrected, which reflects that he actually has poor perspective taking. Okay? I'll explain it in a bit. Okay? Basically, if he doesn't like a lesson, he tends to say that he doesn't understand why the teacher is putting the students through such torture to have such a lesson. Or if he doesn't like a learning journey, he says, it's so boring. I cannot understand why the teachers want to torture the students by bringing them on a boring learning journey, a boring school trip. right? So this is poor perspective taking because, see, while he understands how he feels about the lesson or how he feels about a certain topic or learning journey, he doesn't understand that just because he doesn't like it doesn't mean that the teacher who planned it didn't have good intentions, because he doesn't see it from the other person's point of view. And he also doesn't realize that even though he dislikes that particular lesson or learning journey, some of his schoolmates actually enjoy it. Again, that shows poor perspective taking, not really being aware, also poor social awareness, not being aware of what other people around him think and feel, and not being able to put himself in another person's shoes, right? But beyond that, I also came to understand through talking with him and observing him and listening to him talk about school, that he actually hates school at this stage of life. He would talk about how he wished he were back in primary school. We talk about how he hates school now, and it's meaningless and it's pointless, and he's just forced to go to school. He just has to go, right? And I had to look at underlying causes of these surface behaviors, right? The real triggers. The triggers are the triggers are all the school events that he doesn't like, right? The lessons or the activities. So whatever's going on that he doesn't like, that he finds difficult to do. But the underlying cause really is an immaturity, which led to great discomfort with his daily experiences. An immaturity because he did not feel ready for this stage of life, does not feel ready for the demands of this stage of life. And so this immaturity and intense daily discomfort actually leads to very poor adaptation. And this poor adaptation actually leads to a lot of non-compliance. So yes, this student is very difficult, but he's not difficult because he enjoys it. He's difficult because he's in a lot of discomfort every single day, actually, whenever he goes to school. So just imagine how wound up and tense he is every day, from morning to evening when he's in school. And so any little trigger, when he encounters something that he doesn't like to do and he has to do it, if nothing goes wrong, it kind of like, okay, it's just under the surface, okay? It's simmering, it doesn't explode. But if he's doing something he doesn't like, he's already very tense. And then he encounters difficulty. He can't get the task done. It just spills over. It's just more than he can take. And so he explodes, he has a meltdown. Yeah? So what are the things that I've identified he needs to learn, that I need to work on with him, for example, right? Based on these behaviors, since I understand that it's masking a lot of intense inner insecurities and anxieties, some of the things I recognized were that, first of all, he needs to understand that there are social norms and expectations. There are behaviors that people expect when we're with one another, even though they're not official rules. Okay, so I shared with him, everyone's part of a group, and that means that there are expected behaviors on social norms when we share space with others. Okay? Sharing space is not just physical, but also social space. So therefore, when we share space, there are such things as unexpected and expected behaviors. Expected behaviors are okay and make other people feel comfortable. Unexpected behaviors are not okay and make people feel uncomfortable around us. Okay? So since our behaviors affect what other people think of us and how they react to us, we need to try to make people feel comfortable around us by showing expected behaviors. So this is one of the things he's had to learn, expected and unexpected behaviors. Not so much good and bad, right? But expected, unexpected behaviors when we're with others. Okay, so as an example of a worksheet you can use to help a learner with such difficulties. It helps them to learn about cause and effect. So it's a prerequisite for learners to understand cause and effect in behaviors as well. That when we produce expected behaviors in any social situation, it makes others feel comfortable or happy or relaxed. And then the consequence you experience is also pleasant, right? People respond positively to you, they accept you, they smile at you, they feel relaxed, they chat with you. And then how do you feel about yourself? That's the final consequence, right? And of course, conversely, if you show unexpected behaviors, they make others uncomfortable, even upset. Okay, they respond in a certain way, they may use words of disapproval, or they might walk away or refuse to talk to you. And then you also get impacted and you feel differently, less positive about yourself. Okay? So cause and effect is a prerequisite before a child can learn about the impact of their expected or unexpected behaviors. Okay? So the other thing is, when you want to teach about expected and unexpected behaviors, you can use pictures such as these or scenarios, right? Like in line with the worksheet, these pictures could have been used to show that this boy, okay, if he knows how to share his space, physical space on the sofa, thoughtfully, okay, in a way that makes others comfortable. If he keeps quiet and enjoys the show together with his family, everyone's sort of happy and relaxed and comfortable. But on the other hand, if he does not share the space on the sofa considerately, and if he talks and talks and talks while the others are trying to watch their family's favorite program, it makes the others uncomfortable and unhappy. Okay, so what happens is, besides using pictures like this, sometimes you don't have pictures, sometimes you can just write or describe scenarios to help your child understand what's an expected behavior and what the result would, what the consequences would be produced, and what are the unexpected behaviors in that same situation and what consequences would be produced. What's the impact on other people and how they would behave towards himself or herself. Okay. So when you need to teach beyond social norms and expectations, right? It means a child needs to, besides learning social norms, they also need to learn self-awareness and self-acceptance, like this student of mine. As I was sharing, his behaviors were masking intense inner insecurities and anxieties, right? So he needs to develop more self-awareness and self-acceptance of his struggles. He also needs to learn that he is accepted. So I show a lot of acceptance and affirmation towards him. I accept his views and his feelings, no matter how negative. Okay, that's my starting point. I let him know that your views, your feelings are real, they're authentic, they're acceptable to me because they're real, they're your feelings, they're your opinions. So for example, if he said a certain lesson was horrible, he hates it, he doesn't understand why he wants to attend the lessons, I tell him, yeah, I understand that you feel this way and it's real. It's okay that that's how you feel, right? But do you really think the teachers conduct these lessons to torture you? At first he would say yes, but then I will ask him, do you think that the teachers would feel good about torturing their students? Do you think they teach because they teach in order to torture students, or do you think what's the real reason that people teach? Do they teach because they love students and they want to teach and want to help other students? And so by hearing from my point of view and then hearing from his classmates' point of view, and then on reflecting, he admitted that his teachers probably do not do what they do to torture him or any other students, right? So, but first he had to know that his hostility was acceptable to me first, right? Before he was willing to listen what somebody else's point of view might be. Okay? So this is where teaching him different points of view came in, right? I would hear his point of view about the situation, then I would let him hear his friend's point of view, then I would share my point of view, and then elicit from him what he thought his teacher's point of view might be. Okay? Now, there are other things that this student needs to learn, like self-regulation, okay, controlling his emotions better, in managing his frustrations and annoyance better, managing his anger better, managing his anxieties better. Okay, but that is also a long-term thing, and there's many things we can do, right? But that we should do to help the student learn self-regulation. But there isn't enough time for me to share that much in today's webinar. Okay? But when a student is able to regulate himself better and is able to be more in touch with his own feelings, as well as is able to see other people's points of view, okay, then he can begin to problem solve, right? Self-regulation, being able to calm himself down, to control his emotions, that's important for problem solving, right? Understanding his own feelings, understanding what other people might think and feel, that's also important for problem solving. Okay, so just to share with you an example of how to teach point of view, even if you discuss a scenario with pictures or videos, etc., then you can show something like this, right? It's a party. Yeah, lots of kids are having fun, but the mic is ill. although his brother, sorry, Mike is the one having the party, having fun, sorry, but his brother Dan is ill, right? So we talk about how each individual feels in this situation, right? Who's having fun, who's not? Dan's not having fun, and why not? Because he's ill. So this is a very non-threatening discussion of different points of view. Before we touch on the learner or the student's sensitive experiences, we do generic discussions like this first to introduce points of view. Okay. Now, when it comes to problem solving, just a quick sharing. Okay, we teach that problems come in different sizes, like these rocks. Okay. Problems can be small, medium, or big, and feelings and reactions to those problems can also be small, medium, or big. Now, this is where we integrate concepts. Okay, there's a hidden social rule, which is social expectation or norm, but not an official rule. Right? That expected behavior means that we match the size of our feelings and reactions to the size of our problems, like this. Okay, size of our feelings and actions match the size of our problems, and that when we do this, okay, then people feel comfortable around us. That's what it means to have expected behaviors. Okay, now, so then we have to teach them about big versus little reactions. Okay, so I'm showing you a different example. Instead of a weighing scale or the rocks, the pebbles of different of equal weight, you can also use a visual like this, arrows or lines, any measurements with a number scale, so that they can rate. Okay, if the problem is just a 3, okay, but their reaction is like an 8, it doesn't really match. The reaction is too big, too strong, and how will it make people feel? Uncomfortable, because it's an unexpected behavior. But when it matches, it's an expected behavior, it makes people feel comfortable, right? So problem solving, especially social problem solving, includes figuring out whether a problem is big or small, and whether our reaction to the problem is an appropriate or inappropriate size or scale. Okay? So that's all I have for today. If you want to learn more, because we can discuss on more details and more cases also, and more in depth on strategies, then I do have an upcoming workshop on 28th May, Be a Child Social Skills Coach. So just to let you know, you can actually check it out on our DAS Academy website. Okay. Now that's all I have for today. All right. Thank you for your attention, and I will take questions now.
Elizabeth, I really so enjoyed your session, and I might just attend the one that you're going to be doing at the academy. Just like you're just touching the tip of the iceberg. I mean, for myself, I think, and maybe the others listening today will share, like, we have all our students, or as parents, we're dealing with communication, mismatch. And so we really don't know how to cope with that at times, because maybe we're too close to this to the subject as well. So listening to your tips gives me an eye-opener, and some very quick strategies really I can just take away and then maybe apply, Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for yeah, I really enjoyed that. There is a question, as Deb says. Deborah, would you like to read out the question?
I was about to say, Liz, I know student A and I know student B, sometimes in my own children, and you just, going through what you've explained today, I mean, I wish I'd known this.
Yeah, I wish somebody told me, like this.
I wish someone had told me this, But
and
anyway,
it's expected and it's normal.
It's so reasonable and very, very clear.
Yeah, and structured the approach.
Because I hate school. Oh my goodness. We've all got kids that hate school. Anyway, Stephen's asked a question. Hi, Liz. Elizabeth, thank you for your sharing. Love the slide on think it or say it. I have a secondary school student who uses a lot of vulgarity in his communications. He has picked up the vulgar words from his father, who is his model, and friends in school, especially the older friends in his CCA. He actually thought that it was an expected behavior, as people around him, family and friends, use expletives all the time. And this is true, right? It's
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
well, it sort of just becomes normal,
Yeah.
right?
yes.
So,
And
so how do you, so he asked, how do you suggest I correct this behavior in class? I appreciate your advice.
okay,
Big question.
correcting vulgarity in a student who is actually surrounded by these models, okay, is not a very straightforward thing, right? I probably would, I can give some generic ideas, but whether they would work with this particular student or not depends on, I mean, a lot of other factors that I am not privy to, see, like I don't know this student's personality that well. I don't know his impulse control. I don't know whether how egocentric he is, right? Whether he's very receptive to learning, whether he's very teachable or not, you know, yeah, and whether he will generally, because he has rapport with you, receive your suggestions or expect you to accept him the way he is because he knows you care for him, right? So a lot of different factors come into play. So I can't say that it'll work for sure, but a couple of suggestions I would have would be to have a chat with him, right? First of all, to teach him about, to share with him about how, you know, we share space, right? So what happens is that the social space that we share with different groups of people is different. So it might be helpful to teach him that, okay, I'm not going to say it's acceptable to use vulgarities in the social space where other people are happily using expletives. Okay, I'm not going to say it's like it. I will say that it might be acceptable to those people who are in this social space, right? But I'm not going to say it like an umbrella term is generally acceptable. I would actually gently ask the student, how do you feel when you use these words? Do you feel comfortable? If he says, yeah, I feel comfortable, then you can't do anything about that. Then you have to then restrict it to, okay, so what about the other people who use these words in this social space? Are they comfortable? You'll say, I think so should be because they're doing it too. Then you say, okay, so you see in this social space, it might be an acceptable or even fairly expected type of behavior, but you need to know that when you're here in class or when you're out with another group of friends, these are all different social spaces. And the expected behaviors, because they're not rules, right? They're not official rules, they're social expectations. So therefore, they will change according to the social groupings. So let him know that in your classroom, at least, in that social space, the expected behavior is polite language, not vulgarities, right? So you might also consider teaching him some replacement words, like, you know, especially long multi-syllabic words which are difficult to say. He'll probably just give up on the vulgarities. It's like, oh, fiddlesticks and fish, right? So like by the time he gets through it, I think I'd rather not say anything. Or he can just say, oh, fish, right? Oh, food. Okay, I'm thinking of food. You can just tell them that. So just replace vulgarities if you have to, because sometimes it's really hard for them to stop it altogether, but they might actually be able to switch the word after the first sound is coming out, okay, when it's coming out. So that's one tip, right? But the first one is really to teach him social space, different social spaces, therefore there are different expected behaviors. And then let him know actually there are many other social spaces where the expected behavior is not to use vulgar words. So that's one possibility, right? So then you have to also teach him about the impact of him using vulgarities or engaging in this unexpected behavior, that how other people really feel, right? So you've got to teach him to see different points of view. You accept his point of view that he feels comfortable using vulgarities. You accept his point of view that some people around him that he mingles with are comfortable using vulgarities and don't feel bad about it and don't feel offended. You let him know, okay, yeah, I accept that. That makes sense. But in this social space, the impact is negative. People feel upset, people feel uncomfortable. So in this situation, when they feel that way, they respond to you in a way that may not make you feel that good either. Okay? Because teenagers, as we all know, are quite egocentric. So it might help them to know how other people are looking at them when they say such things, right? Yeah. And then once they've learned that, you can also add in the think it or say it, right? You may think of vulgarity, but please say something different. So maybe teach him to work on that. You know, so but impulse control, now that is a factor that I cannot just give a tip on like this, because if in the moment, if he does not have the impulse control to stop himself saying the vulgarity, then you've got to expect that he may take more time, right? It will help to have a visual cue, right? So you might have a visual cue, whatever you think makes sense to him. You might discuss it with him. I need to make a card to show you whenever you say something vulgar. Okay, that helps to remind you to tone down or stop it immediately or midway. Okay, even halfway through the word, or to maybe make a polite apology. Oops, sorry about that, guys. Right? Okay, that helps. So let him know what is helpful. Maybe he just wants you to just tell him directly. Maybe he would rather you have a certain, I don't know, hand gesture, or just show him a card, or even a stick, an ice cream stick or whatever. There's a red color instead of green color. Red, like it's a no-no, work it out with him. I hope this helps. Sorry, I know it's very long.
It's not an easy thing, because like media portray language completely different to what we would like it to be, say in a learning environment. So yeah, it's actually quite challenging.
Yeah.
Liz, we have another question.
Do I'm trying to see it now.
Can you advise for those who are in their early 20s, like young adults who lack social skills? Yes, they've not really acquired it through school, and they're still learning as young adults.
Yeah.
So how do we manage our own emotions when we're working with such children? That's a very good question, right? It's not off topic at all, really, because social communication involves us too. We're their social communication partners, right? And so when we are with children who actually trigger our own powerful emotions, it can be difficult. We can actually apply the same strategies to ourselves, right? But one of the things we need to do is actually, maybe consider our zones of regulation. Okay, you can look it up, read up about it, about how you need to identify your own body signals, okay, or your own thoughts, your own feelings in your body, especially. What's the sensation you have when you begin to feel really stressed by the behaviors of these children that you're working with? So if you feel, okay, I know myself, my body gets hot. If I'm getting really stressed, I flush, okay? I flush and I get hot and my face gets really warm. And and sometimes I feel myself starting to clench my fingers, okay, my hands. So what I do is, when I realize I'm doing that, sometimes I say this to students who challenge me like this. I'll be like, okay, I'm really quite, I'm not feeling too great about what you're saying, and what you're doing right now is really not acceptable to me. And I'm going to tell you firmly, I don't like this. Okay, I'm going to open the classroom door. I'm going to step outside for 3 seconds, and then I'm going to come back in because I don't want to lose my cool with you. I'll tell them that I feel like I'm almost ready to lose my cool. These are with slightly, they're usually at least like mid to upper primary or teenagers, right? Then I let them know, and I'll just say, like, when I come back, I'm going to be calm and I want to talk to you then. So I'd like you to tone down in the meantime. Try to reel it in yourself, right? I step out and then come back in and talk to them if necessary. But I have found one thing that works even better for me. Yeah, I used to do that. Now I realize that, the 2 arrows I was showing you, the matching the reactions to the scale of 0 to 10, right? The problem, size of the problem, matching it to the size of the reaction, 0 to 10, right? So what happens is I have actually learned to rate myself on my own reaction, my own emotions. So I have I kind of have 3 scales in my mind. I've got the scale of, what's the size of this problem? What is this kid's behavior like on this 0 to 10 scale? And then I'll ask myself, how am I feeling right now? And sometimes my emotion is way beyond the scale of 10, right? But I know it. And then I'll tell myself, I need to show the 3rd scale, which is from 0 to 10. My feelings are like a 20. I'm really upset, but my reaction is going to be a 2. I've literally done this self-talk to myself very quickly within a couple of seconds. And then that's what I show. and then I'll ask, and then I actually tell it to, but I've had to share the skill. I'll share the skill with the students and explain it to them. And then after that, I'll say, okay, I want to let you know, based on your behavior, any one of you guess on this scale now what my feelings might be? Then they might tell me it's like a 6. They think I'm a little bit annoyed because I'm pretty calm, right? But because I've talked about it explicitly, they know that it's not a 0, right? I mean, some of them know, not always. Okay? Then I'll tell them, no, actually, it's a 20, guys. But tell me, what am I showing you on the scale right now? Then some of them may tell me, it's like a 2 or 3. Say, yeah, actually, I feel a 20, but I'm only showing you a 3, right? So I would appreciate that whatever you are feeling, what's your scale now? Then they tell me the number, then I'll say, can you try to adjust your behavior down the scale as well? Yeah, so if your students are able to understand such verbal reasoning, then this can be quite helpful for someone. Right? With the visual scale, you need to show them the scale as you talk them through it. Okay, so I don't know about you. I hope this scale will help you moderate your own feelings when you're working with these students who trigger you. Okay. Okay, let me have a look at another question. Yes. How do I? Do we still have time there?
Well, we can. We should be finishing, but I'm sure people wouldn't mind hearing the answer to this. So those who want to stick around, please stay with us. We'll stay for another 5 minutes and then we'll let you go. Otherwise, you can leave and come back another time. Watch the end of this on YouTube, on Facebook.
Thanks. Okay, so how do you respond to a child who said that?
Deborah, I think Stevens mentioned about the...
Yes, I'm fixing it now.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Liz.
All right. So how do you respond to a child who says that the whole class doesn't like him? I'm also moderate in class. I get shouted at too, even at home, so it's okay for me. I know I speak loudly in class because they irritate me. Okay, Julia, I'm just wondering what you mean by you're also moderate in class. Oh, I guess you mean that you actually keep yourself quite calm. You moderate your responses, right? When if you get shouted at, I'm sorry that you get shouted at home, right? And but I guess it's given you training. I think we all are familiar with the need to be able to manage. Yes, I've been shouted at too before. Okay, not only by kids, but adults too. So I get what it means to have to, just keep our emotions as calm as possible. On the surface, actually, what we show, even though internally it might be like a boiling, cauldron or a volcano. Yeah. So, okay, when a child says that the whole class doesn't like him, what I would do is, well, first of all, is it true? Right? If it is true, then unfortunately, it means that what this child needs is for you to work on their not only their self-awareness, but the awareness of their behaviors and the impact on their behaviors on other people, right? If it's actually true, you need to help the child work on expected and unexpected behaviors and the impact on others, the consequences, remember, and how people respond to them. And then to work on what are the behaviors, unexpected behaviors they need to change, okay? And what's the expected behavior to replace it with. It could be a think it or say it situation. It could be an impulse control thing where they touch a friend's things without permission. So it all depends on what it is. But if it's a child who thinks the whole class doesn't like him, but it's not really true, then what would help is actually to actually surface, to actually help get the classmates, to find out from the classmates, how they actually feel about him, and get them to write little notes to him about what they actually think and feel about him. Even if it's neutral, you can show that, hey, this is neutral. It doesn't mean they don't like you. It just means that maybe they don't know you that well. They haven't spent that much time with you, right? So if a peer writes, I don't know much about you, but I think you're okay. Okay is still neutral. Okay can be quite positive. Even when they don't know you, they think you're okay. Right? Or if they say you're quiet, or they think that you're very energetic, okay? Energetic is not necessarily a bad thing, so on and so forth. So if that's the case, I would actually try to get some helpful, constructive feedback from other children for this child. That will build her self-esteem. You know, it'll be quite nice if they write little notes and then you put it in and you get the students, the classmates to put it in his little mailbox or something, or his little feedback box, or every couple of days, right? So not all at one go, but just spread out. So he gets regular doses of encouragement. But you'd have to look through the comments first. Just in case there's something negative, you need to process it with him.
Your course at the Academy, what ages does it cover? All ages or just younger kids? The course, your social skills course that you're running at the Academy.
Yeah,
does it cover all ages?
It's general, right? It's general. Okay. So if you want to talk about specific ages, then I cover more on like a preschool to secondary school age group, right? But you can always ask me specific questions.
Specific questions, yeah. And it's also really aimed at the caregiver being able to mediate the social skills with the children their children or children that they work with. So I know Liz has a lot of really cool advice to give to you. So if you're really interested in this subject, I suggest that you attend Liz's course. And as you can see today, it was just an absolute brilliant presentation. Thank you very much, Liz.
Yeah,
there are a couple of questions that what I'll get you to do is I'll get you to do some answers for me, and we'll put them onto the website. Okay. And then so we'll get those. But yes, so we have to let people go. They've finished their lunch.
Perhaps we need a part 3 again, Liz. We got to.
You never know. You've always got some really wonderful things to share. Yes. So as we wrap up today, I'd like you to fill in our feedback form. We'd love to have your feedback on how we're doing. DAS International love these spotlights series where we can highlight particular issues and help to share solutions. So thank you very much for attending. Again, remember it's already shared and live streaming on Facebook, so you can come back and have a look at particular things that Liz has shared today. Anna, have you got anything to say before we go?
Just I look forward to getting all of you back again to our Spotlight series. We love having you participate with us, and all your questions are really useful. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Goodbye.
And goodbye. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Thanks.
It was wonderful.